Evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience while we sorted out some tech issues. We had to swap out a computer to make it not be so glitchy and so that we kind of have some smooth transitions here. So thank you for hanging in there, and welcome to our folks at home who are watching our presentation. Just to let you know a little bit of housekeeping, everything I share with you, which is going to be a lot, it's going to be a little overwhelming, and don't sweat it. For a few reasons. We're always here to help. We're always able to provide answers to your questions. I'll send you these slides after this presentation tomorrow. You'll get a link to this presentation if you want to watch it again or ever access it again. The documents we reference, we'll send those out as well, or they'll be on our website. So you're going to get a lot of information. You're going to get to a point of probably saturation, like this is a lot. Don't worry about it. We get you through. We are really good at that, and you are going to be successful, and your child is going to be, our hope, happy and successful here at our school. So welcome to Algonquin Regional High School. My name is Sean Bevan. I'm the principal here. I'm in my 6th year. I love it here. I love my job, and I love coming to work and seeing your children come to us every day and all the wonderful things they do in our building, and we get to see them really blossom from 8th grade plus one day when we get them in 9th grade, and then right to the moment that they cross the stage of graduation. It's a real honor and a privilege to do the work of seeing your children grow and achieve success here in our school. So I'm excited that you're here and learning about what you're going to experience and how you can help your child be successful at our school. So I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting of kind of the high-level things that we have in store for your child. But before I do that, I want to introduce a few people. You're going to hear from myself. You're going to hear from Lisa Connery, who's our guidance department chair. All of our department chairs are here tonight. You probably saw some of them. They're in the back rows back there, and they will be in the auditorium lobby after tonight. If you have a specific question about a fine art, you'll have a person, Amy Collins, who can help you with that. If you have a question about math, our department head's there for that. So if you want to hold on to those very specific questions, we have somebody in the room or in the auditorium lobby after this to help you with that. As well, I'll introduce Janet Brown, who is the assistant principal for the incoming 9th grade. That's Janet there. She'll speak toward the end, and then we'll open it up to some questions. If you have a question as we go and you want to raise your hand, we'll take it as we go. If you want to hold on to a question you didn't, it might be a good idea to just hold on to it because we might get to that answer. But hopefully it's informal enough that you get all the answers that you need. If you have any questions toward the end, raise your hand, we'll answer those. And if you have a question you don't want to ask in front of 100 other people, come up and grab us and we'll get you that answer, okay? So that's the kind of the table of contents for tonight, the itinerary for tonight. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the class of 2030, which is your children, are going to experience probably the greatest change in our school's history as it relates to what we're requiring of them to graduate. And it's a really exciting change that took a few years of examination, analysis, and implementation. And I don't want to alarm you, I'm super excited because I feel like we have struck a really good balance for your child coming to us, where they will have a higher level of rigor, which I'll talk to you about. We're holding to a little bit of a higher standard, but we're also opening up a lot more opportunities for them. So I'm really excited that your child's going to graduate from the high school really when we're hitting our stride as a high school, and I'm very proud of our school before we made this change. So I'm going to talk you through that briefly. I'm going to show you the bell schedule, and then we're going to get into like what a pretty typical 9th grade English series of classes might look like, what social studies classes. So Lisa will talk about that stuff. And then we'll talk to you a little bit about the timeline of how you'll receive information, how we'll get you and your child ready for joining our school. So our current graduation requirements are up here. So each class, a full year class, is a 5-credit class. And so you see it up here behind me. That's been almost entirely unchanged for almost 30 years. It's kind of hard to go back and precisely know when we adopted all of these. But we came to conclude that we needed to do some updating, and what you might notice up there missing is, for example, world languages. So we currently do not require world languages to graduate, and yet nearly all of our students take several years of world languages. We also have currently what's called digital literacy and/or exploring computer science as a graduation requirement. We are removing that. I'll go through that in a second. And even though students can take it, it's no longer a requirement, and it opens up more room in a student's schedule to pursue things they might be excited about, because we are confident that students are getting a lot of the concepts in digital literacy throughout their regular everyday existence here in a digital world here at school. All right. So the changes we made, and this was, like I said, done after a lot of thoughtful analysis and a presentation to the school committee and work through our department heads, is that we did the following. We added 1 year of math, so your child will graduate from us with 4 years of math. 90%, 92% of our students do that anyway without having a graduation requirement. That's a change. The changes are here in red, you see. Fine and performing arts, currently we require a half a year of fine and performing art over the course of the 4 years. That will now be doubled to a full year, which can be accomplished at any point over the 4 years. They can take a half a year 1 year, a half a year another year, and they're good. So there's that. And then we're adding 2 years of a world language. All right, so that is a requirement. 92% of our kids were achieving anyway, so it's not a massive shift. It simply concretizes thinking that we already were achieving, but not every student was achieving. Okay. Excuse me. The new requirements draw us into compliance with what's called Mass Core, and I won't bore you with all the details about Mass Core, but it is the state recommended course of study that was adopted by Massachusetts in 2007, but was not required. It was created with the input of industry professionals and college professionals as the best course of study for a student to be successful in college or career after they left us. So we were not compliant with that, but that's not unusual. About 50% of the schools in the state are not compliant, and this will draw us into compliance. And being compliant gives you a lot of opportunities that we are currently not availed to us. So there's a lot of benefits to being Mass Core compliant, but the primary benefit is it maximizes the student's ability to be college ready or career ready. And even though we do that really well now, these changes will do that even more so. Or your children will be, I'm confident, just a touch more college and career ready as a baseline requirement than all their previous Algonquin predecessors. Okay? So this is a big shift, but I would say some very large number of our students already are achieving what's on that right-hand side. Maybe 90% or more are already doing that. We're kind of dialing up the rigor a little bit for that 10%. And along the way, what we've done is that digital literacy, exploring computer science coming out creates a new space in your child's schedule that other kids didn't have in the previous years. And they might fill it with a class on guitar or another class on computer science that's not one of these foundational classes. They might take a class on journalism or photography or any one of a number of classes. So we've expanded our electives program pretty considerably in anticipation and in response to this shift that we've also made. So we've kind of moved some things over here and increased rigor, and we're increasing what I know will be enjoyment for students on the other side. So we're excited to see how that plays out for your children, but we're confident that's the right thing to do. So this is our bell schedule. And I know you're like, whoa, that's incredibly, it's a lot to look at all in one piece. You don't need to master it. Your child won't master it immediately. And then after a few days, it'll just become really a rhythm that's very difficult to mess up, frankly. So you don't need to master it, but you should see it, and then you'll see it more. And then we communicate it literally on a weekly basis. Your child will never not know where they need to be and when they need to be there. It operates almost kind of like a batting order in baseball. Like if you're in A class, you're always going to B class, and if you're in B class, after that you're going to C class, and then it just rotates and one drops off each day. So as long as you get to if your child gets to class on any day and they know where they need to be on that first block, they can't mess it up after that because they're just leaving that class and going on to the next one. So there are a couple benefits to this. This is a pretty traditional class bell schedule. A class will drop once every 7 days. It doesn't operate on a Monday through Friday kind of alignment. You get a kind of a key to know which day is which class. But it has an equal distribution through the day. So sometimes your class might meet in the morning, sometimes it'll be in the middle of the day, sometimes it'll be at the end of the day. So if you have a kid who's really bright early in the morning, if those teenagers exist somewhere in the world, if that's your kid, then they'll be good. Then they'll deliver benefits across the morning classes, and it kind of rotates through the day. Some of the benefits of morning and middle and end of the day are distributed, as are the downsides. So it works pretty well. We're happy with it. It's a schedule that kids warm up to and they're okay with. All right. You'll get used to it. They'll get used to it, and we've had it for this is about our 4th or 5th year. We've had this exact schedule, and it's a fun one. One thing I wanted to emphasize and highlight that's a bit of a shift in the last few years is that 2 years ago we added a new position to our school, and the person in that position is Michelle Kalin, who, if you want to stand and wave. All right, Michelle is our career development coordinator, and she does, among other things, and I'm only highlighting a key piece of her role, but we are highly emphasizing and investing in our students' career readiness and their career exploration and the experiential learning that we're providing, so that not only are we getting them ready for college, we're asking them or challenging them to think about the kind of careers they might want to enter once they leave us. So this is an exciting development. Michelle's been wonderful and a great colleague to work alongside. And all along the way, she's delivering some really exciting benefits to our students. So this year alone, this last calendar year alone, she's placed students, and you see the numbers up there, in internships. So we had a whole host of students over the summer complete internships all around different places around town and in the neighboring towns. We have some students doing school year internships, so they are in school, full-time students, but then once a week or more, they are going out to different locations, and you see some of those locations, and that's just a short list of the locations that we've had students going out to on that slide. So, and on the left, or on the right side there, I think that's our chief. Is that Chief Parenti there? All right, we've had students work with some of our town agencies, including the fire department, and this was one of our inaugural class interns from last summer, not this past summer, the previous summer. So I'm really excited about that. By the time your children are ready to be a junior or senior and they might want to undertake this, I think easily we're going to be running these exact kind of numbers with many of these kind of locations, and it should be open to you and to your child, which is not something we're capable of doing at a large scale. We used to be able to place students in small pockets when needed, but this is something we're really excited about and we're getting good results on. If you have a question for Michelle, she's going to be here, and she can pop out after our presentation, and you can grab her and ask her anything you have questions about. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Lisa Connery, who's our guidance department chair. She's going to talk through some of the real kind of nuts and bolts of our academic program, and then she's going to hand it off to Janet Brown, who's your assistant principal. So Lisa.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening and welcome. So as Sean mentioned, I'm the chair of the guidance department, and I will be working very closely with the middle school counselors as well as new families coming from area private schools. I did actually meet with the middle school counselors yesterday to review the course selection process for the coming year and provide them with all of the materials and everything that they'll need to support you and your students in this process. And I do believe they'll be starting the course selection process a couple weeks after we get back from February vacation. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a bunch of different courses, the requirements for graduation, and then highlight some of the tremendous elective course offerings that we have here at Algonquin. I do think that our course, our electives, is one of our areas of excellence. Not only do we challenge students in the core content areas, but we have a tremendous number of elective courses that students can enroll and engage in. So I'll start with our English. So we require 4 years. We have our department chair, Jane Bitar, here tonight to answer any questions you may have, but we require 4 years of English in order to graduate, and as Sean mentioned, each year that students will earn 5 credits for a total of 20 credits towards graduation. So in freshman year, we'll offer honors and college prep level courses as well as sophomore year. And then in 11th grade, we will students will take junior English at the honors or the college prep level, and they'll have the first opportunity to engage in advanced placement course offerings. And then 12th grade, again, all at honors or college prep level courses or AP level courses. The English department offers some wonderful elective opportunities with some of our writing courses like journalism. If your student is interested in maybe participating in the Harbinger and writing for our school newspaper, they could take a journalism class that would help prepare them for that. We have creative writing workshop, some wonderful literature courses, whether it's silence voices or fairy tales, comedy and satire, a sports and literature course. So they have some wonderful elective offerings for students to take. Social studies, our department chair is Brittany Burns. The graduation requirement is 15 credits, so 3 years. Students will take US 1, that is an unleveled course, so all students will take the same course in grade 9. In grade 10, students will be taking US 2 at either the honors or the college prep level. They will also have the opportunity to choose to take AP US History. Grade 11, they do World History, again, honors and college prep, or an AP level course. Our social studies department, again, has some wonderful electives, whether it's psychology or positive psychology, race in America, sociology, history of women. We offer multiple AP courses for students who are interested in pursuing advanced placement courses in government and politics, psychology, human geography. In regards to mathematics, Pat Galvin is here. He's our math department chair. This year, for the class of 2030, we're going to require 4 years of math in order to graduate. So again, 20 credits. Now the math progression is going to look slightly different for each student depending on the courses that they're currently taking at the middle school level. So many of our students will come in taking Algebra 1. They'll be recommended for Algebra 1 CP or Algebra 1 Honors. For students who have already taken Algebra 1 in the middle school, they will be recommended for, say, Algebra 2 Honors or Algebra 2 CP. You can see the progression as we go through 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Students from Algebra, all of our students will take geometry in their sophomore year at the college prep or the honors level, and then students will advance to either Algebra 2, pre-calculus, or calculus as they move through their progression. And this looks different for every student. For the science department, we have Elisa Drake here tonight, our chair. We require 3 years of science in order to graduate, 15 credits. 9th grade, all students are going to take biology, 10th grade chemistry, and then 11th grade they'll be doing physics. Again, all at the honors or the college prep level. Again, the science department has some wonderful electives. We offer all of the AP sciences if your student is STEM oriented, with AP biology, chemistry, environmental science, or physics. We also have some great courses, whether they're interested in forensics, biotechnology, mechanical engineering. So there's some wonderful offerings for students to pursue their interest in science. So for the first time, we will be requiring students to take world language as part of their graduation requirement. Our chair, Emily Squires, is here tonight and happy to answer any of your questions. Students will need to complete 2 years of the same language. Now, many of our students have already been engaging in either Spanish or French in the middle school, and if they will continue that when they come up to the high school. We also offer Latin for students. If we have students who are native Portuguese or Spanish speakers, we do have courses for them as well. And so we will be requiring 2 years from every student. Our health and fitness department chair, Brian Mawson, is here. We do require health and fitness a semester every year in grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. Grades 9, 11, and 12 are definitely more fitness oriented, with grade 10 being health-oriented. They also have some great elective offerings, whether it's team sports or unified health and fitness, weight training, if the students are interested in pursuing that. But everybody will have to take a semester every year, and that's actually a state mandate that students engage in physical education every year. Applied Arts. George Clark is here tonight with us, and we require within the Applied Arts Department a financial literacy or microeconomics course. Many students complete this requirement, and typically in 11th or 12th grade. We do have some sophomores who may choose to do microeconomics, but many of our students do it in either 11th or 12th grade. For economics, we offer that at the Honors College Prep, or students could engage in a full year AP microeconomics course if they so choose. That's definitely going to be, it's more business oriented, where we offer a financial literacy course at the honors or the college prep level, and that is going to be more oriented towards personal finance. And we'll talk more about this, like each year when we go through course selection, the counselors, we go in and we do presentations for the students. We send information home for the parents as well. So you don't have to remember all of this. We continually come back to it. And then we're happy to meet individually and provide feedback regarding your child's individual plan. For the Applied Arts Department, they just have so many electives. Whether it's in the education and consumer science area, whether it's our nutrition or our baking and pastry class, or an early childhood development class. We do have a preschool on campus, so students can work with young children if they're interested in that. To our tech courses, whether it's video production or wood tech, engineering, graphics, for more hands-on experience for some of our students. We also have a huge business program with a wealth of different offerings, whether it is fashion and retail or marketing, business fundamentals, business law. You can see on the screen there's a lot of offerings within the Applied Arts Department for students to explore their interests. They also, in addition, have some computer science courses if that's an area of interest for your student. So while we are not requiring students to take exploring computer science or digital literacy, we will be offering those as elective courses next year if students are interested, in addition to offering AP Computer Science A and Principles courses, as well as C++ and Python. So we do have computer science courses if your student is interested in that. So this coming year, students are going to have to complete five credits within the fine and performing arts area. And again, we have a lot of different ways in which students can go about completing this requirement. And so some of our courses, like band and chorus, actually earn our full year courses, and they earn 5 credits. So that is one way that students could go ahead and earn those credits, is by participating in our band and chorus program. In addition, we just have some wonderful offerings within the music department, whether it's beginning piano or guitar, learn to jam, the music theory. And we have a tremendous visual arts program, whether it's drawing and painting or photography or graphic design. Whatever your student is interested in, we do have a lot of ways in which they can explore their interests. So we do have on our website, we've been having some technical issues, so I won't click on this, but on our website we do have a form, and I'll have some out at my table when you come out. It's called the 4-year course of study, and we just kind of have mapped out in a chart the different graduation requirements and where students can take electives. So that's a nice form to use as you're planning out your students' course selections. And I'll have some of those out on the table. I just don't want to mess up the technology tonight. So throughout, I've been talking about how we offer a lot of different courses at the college prep or the honors level. And so at Algonquin, when we talk about what is a college prep level course, we talk about this is a course that is really going to cover kind of foundational concepts, right? And there's going to be a deliberate pace, and you're going to have more repetition, maybe a little more support in the classroom, versus say like an honors level course, which is going to go at a much more accelerated pace, less repetition. There's going to be a higher expectations for students to be doing more outside work. So you can anticipate, a heavier homework load for students if they're in honors level courses. And what we're really looking for is that kind of independence, that initiative, a passion for the subject. So when we start thinking about your students' overall course selection and their plan, you really should be kind of thinking about what are their strengths, what are their interests, right? What do their other commitments look like outside of school? Because that all kind of factors in. We want to make sure that we're providing students with a nice balance. I mean, each and every one of us, we work in an area of interest for us, right? We all have strengths, we all have interests. So really think about your child's, because you'll be having a lot of conversations with other parents, right? You'll be hearing what other students are doing, and sometimes it's hard to really kind of focus in on your student and just say, okay, what is in the best interest of my student? Where do their strengths lie, right? Because they really need to have a strong passion and an interest if they're going to be taking accelerated courses. So just think about your student, all right? Parents oftentimes will ask us, and students will ask us, is it better to get an A in a CP course or say a C plus in an honors level course? And honestly, again, that really just depends on your student. So some students really like the challenge and they like the rigor and they're comfortable working hard and earning a C plus or a B minus. Another student may not be comfortable with that, right? They may be working hard and getting a C plus or a B minus in an honors level course may cause a lot of stress for them. So if you're finding that your student is spending an excessive amount of time on one course and they're earning, say, a C plus, and it's bringing them to tears at night, then I really think we should rethink as to whether or not the honors level is the appropriate placement for your student. Okay, so again, depends on your student and how they kind of manage their overall stress, how they manage, that perceived performance, when they see their grades. Okay, so the middle school teachers are going to be making recommendations after the break. Questions about recommendations really should be directed to the middle school teachers and the middle school counselors. Lots of times parents will call me and they'll ask me what I think, and I don't even know who your student is, right? And I don't have access to their grades, I don't know what their current skill level is, but the teachers do. And many of our department heads go down and they meet with the middle school teachers so that they understand what the expectations are at the high school level. So when they're making those recommendations, they're familiar with the curriculum, they're familiar with the skills that are required to be successful in those courses. So any questions about the teacher recommendation really should be directed to the middle school. I'm happy to always answer overall planning questions, but when it comes to making recommendations about level changes, those conversations really should be happening at the middle school level. And I really would encourage you to heed the advice of the teachers, especially as you come out in freshman year, as your student makes that transition and that jump from the middle school to the high school, because it can be a big jump for students as they're navigating 7 different classes, increased rigor in those classes, maybe they're increasing their extracurricular participation. So really heed the advice of those of your middle school teachers. The middle school counselors will be going over the override process, because we do have a process if you disagree with a teacher recommendation. And what you would need to do again is talk to the middle school teacher and the middle school counselor, and they have a form that you can complete if you make the decision to override what that recommendation is. When you start thinking about elective courses, it's an opportunity for students to really begin to explore their interests. As Principal Bevan started to talk about, as we start encouraging students to really think about, the future and what they might be interested in pursuing. We have so many wonderful electives here that students can engage in to start exploring those interests, to kind of make some decisions about what they might like to do in their future. On top of that, we have some great electives where students can just take a break, right? When you're going through, 5 or 6 academic classes a day, You know, it's nice when you can go into the dark room and for the photo class, or you're putting your hands in the clay and you're just doing something different. So thinking about courses that your student might just have an interest in and want to learn more about. We have a lot of students who want to learn how to cook. And so they engage in our nutrition and our baking and pastry classes because that's an interest for them. So start to kind of think about, you know, electives and the opportunities that we have here. I think it's always good to not just look at 9th grade, but look over a couple years, 10th and 11th grade, and what kind of courses they might want to take as they progress through Algonquin. So we're going to be asking students to select like 3 electives, and then we ask them to give us alternative electives so that we can help to kind of develop their overall schedule. All right, so we do have an exemption policy, and how the exemption policy works is that students are allowed to exempt either 1 full year or 2 semester non-required courses from their GPA. Originally, this policy was developed because we were finding that a lot of students were simply only taking honors level electives because of the overall GPA weighting that goes into that. So we really wanted to encourage students to try electives regardless of, you know, whether or not they were a CP or an honors course, all right? So they can exempt them. They do have to exempt them before they start the course. Once they start the course, they can't unexempt it. And so another thing to know is that if a student does exempt a course, it still shows up on their transcript, right? The grade is still there, it still exists. Every once in a while we'll have a student who's exempted a course and they're not doing well in the course, and we're like, what's going on with this? You know, they're like, oh, it's exempt. I'm like, well, it still shows on your transcript, okay? So you do have the opportunity to exempt a course. And again, I had a link here to our website where we have course selection resources on our website. If you go onto the Algonquin website under academics and then select guidance, we have a tab for course selection. On there, you'll find like a video that walks you through how to you know, do course selection in Power School. We'll have our program of studies. We have our freshman course selection sheet on there. So there's a lot of different information on the website that you can, you know, click on and go through. All right, so we'll do course selection in March. In addition, we'll do new student registration for any students who are coming in from private schools. If your student is currently enrolled at Tridy or American, you're all set. Your enrollment will just roll over to Algonquin, but if your student is enrolled at a private school, you will need to have to complete the new student registration process, and I'll have a letter out on my table that will walk you through that. So we spend the entire spring, all the way through the summer, developing our master schedule and finalizing student schedules. We do release student schedules like the week before school gets out, and we do that through through Power School, and then we'll also have student schedules available at orientation. So that's kind of like our timeline that we follow. I just talked about new students and new student registration, and I think at this point that kind of summarizes the graduation requirements, the many different kind of course offerings that we have here at Algonquin. And I'm going to hand it off now to Janet Brown, who's just going to talk briefly about transitions and how we can support your student transition to Algonquin. And I'll be out in the hallway if you have specific questions. Happy to answer them.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Brown. I am going to be the assistant principal for your students. So I thought I'd just take a minute to tell you a little bit about myself. I have been in high school for every year of my life since 1993. No, that's a lie, 1984. And I've been a teacher since 1993, which means that I have well over 30 years experience at the high school level. During my teaching career, I was an English teacher and in the classroom for 28 and a half years. And I have been an administrator when your students come in will be my 7th year. So I feel that that's a lucky year and I'm hitting my stride. I have been at Algonquin for the last 4 years, and one of the things about the administrative staff that I appreciate most here is that when your students come in as freshmen, they're assigned an assistant principal. In this case, it'll be me, and I will be with not only your students, but you through the journey of high school. And so while the first support behind me talks about having continuous administration and guidance support for your students, I want you to know that some of us will be good friends over the course of 4 years, and that's not always a bad thing. I am the person, sometimes I can be really your guidance counselor, which is assigned when your student comes in, is also with you for 4 years. So between your guidance counselor and myself, we can really handle the entirety of your student programming and all of your questions, and we're excited and we're happy to do so. We work as a team. So know that what that allows in your student's life and in your life is that you have people in your child's life who know your child very, very well and are standing by them through the entirety of their journey. And Algonquin can sometimes look like a big school with 1,200 students and several hundred adults here working with them, but it becomes very, very small very, very quickly when we put in systems that make sure that no student falls through the cracks and every student is seen for who they are and supported in their journey. So your student's journey actually already started here. Melican and Trottier, if your student is in our system already, they came to the high school for a tour. They met some of our students who will be peer mentors next year and help them through their journey. We talked to them in a little more detail about the electives that are offered to them, and I met them personally. And so we start early prior to this, and then as we move into the school year, we start with freshman orientation, which students love, and again, they look at their schedules, they meet more students. We have peer mentors that are assigned to them so that they have upperclassmen who can support them in their journey. We also have a pretty kick and dance, I have to say, later that night, which I'm pretty good at. We also have guidance workshops and other things throughout the year to help your student with the natural transitions and in order to help them get involved. So Algonquin becomes home for students because they find a space that feels authentically them. And so what I would encourage you to think about for your student is that we have an activities extravaganza. We're out in front of the rotunda. We have all of our clubs and organizations trying to bribe your children to join their club with candy, which is really what that looks like sometimes. But in addition to that, it is a window into the myriad of things that help students find their niche in the school. We're in the auditorium. We have several large-scale musical theater productions. If that's your child's interest, we have clubs that are business-oriented. We have clubs that cover the gamut, and your students saw that expansive list when they were here in the auditorium just a few months ago. In addition to that, you might be a little bit nervous about the jump in not only academics, but the social jump of being in a larger school. And so I want to talk about just some of the systems that we have in place that support your children. So depending on what your child needs, and that could be a lot of support, and it could be no support, and it could just be me every morning saying hello. One of the things I'm fond of saying is that the day that makes me smile when the freshmen come in is the day where I'm no longer popular. So often when students come in as 8th grades and they're a little uncertain, they really like me. And they're not embarrassed at all. Like, you ever go to the mall with like a teenager and they don't want anything to do with you and don't stand at me with a line at the movie theater and I'm very popular here at the beginning. Hi, Mrs. Brown, hi, Mrs. Brown. And I'm like, good morning, good morning. And then one day, a student who has spoken to me every day for 7 or 8 days walks right by me and doesn't say hello. And runs into a group of friends or sits on the floor with a group of students because they have found their niche. And so we support them and we hold them, and then I become a little bit more invisible until they need me. And that's okay too. So we have after-school help. We have after-school help both with teachers, but we also have an extensive peer tutoring network. We have a writing center that's attached to our library where students can go and get help with their work. If there is a subject we offer, there is a student and adult help center for that subject. If you're a student, you might be nervous, like what would happen to my student if maybe they missed an extensive amount of school and then they came back? That would be a lot for me as a parent to manage. Well, how do I make sure they get caught up? How do I make sure they haven't missed anything? Well, we take care of that. We have an area in the school called Access, and let's say your child had to be out of school for any number of days. We often will re-enter students into that program, and we have a professional here at school take care of coordinating all the teachers, making sure the student's up to speed, so that when the student returns to class, they feel capable in what they're doing. We also have a focus study for students who are either on a 504 or not on an, or just a general education student. Maybe that student needs a little bit more extra help, an adult in the room, instead of having a study period, who goes over work, who maybe reteaches work, who does a little bit more digging in terms of what kind of help do you need, how's that class going. We have a study system for those students. For students on IEP, of course, we have learning centers and we have small group instruction to support them. And we have a myriad of specialized services that are specifically designed to meet your students' needs. The greatest advantage of Algonquin is that we are large enough to offer extensive programming in hundreds of things because we're large enough, but we're small enough where nobody gets lost. And so we can have certain programming that other schools don't have because of our size. We work together as a team. So I am your assistant principal, and if Ms. Connery is your guidance counselor, you will see us in places like meetings about your child. We will come together as teams if we need to talk about how to support or help your child. The teachers work in collaboration with us, and we work in collaboration with them, and everyone is here, and it's just really important for you to hear this. We are here to serve you and your child in order to design a programming that makes them feel successful and competent and willing to take risks in the sort of the unknown world that they walk into as they grow and develop into who they're going to become. And I'll leave you with this, because I do want to let you know that while I have a lot of experience in teaching, and I am a qualified administrator, there is one place in the building that I don't have any power whatsoever, and I think I should just sort of let you know what that is right at the get-go. In the preschool, I volunteered once, and because the students were helping with something, and I said, you know what, I'll go down to the preschool. So I'm playing with blocks, and I'm handing out crayons and pens, and one of those students, little preschool tiny titans, looks at me and says, Miss, when are the real teachers coming back? Hold on, I'll go find one. I know you won't have that experience with me, but I certainly have that humbling experience here at school. So even though in your eyes your students may look young and growing, please know that there are places in this building where they are giants, and they are appreciated, and they are leaders. I am going to invite Principal Bevan and Ms. Connery back up if you have any questions that would make sense to ask in the large group. And if not, we're going to hang up here, and we're going to answer personal questions or general questions, anything you may want to ask us. So feel free to do what kind of feels right for you. If you'd like to ask a question in the general group, or head out to the departments, or come on up and talk to us.
Thank you, Janet. Before we open it to questions, I did want to make a note of something we're going to be emphasizing with your kids in the coming year, and it's that there's a lot of value in free time. And so what I mean by that is that you may not be aware, we don't have any restriction on how many classes a student can take, and as a result, students take all the classes. So to graduate, all students need to achieve a sum total of 110 graduation credits. And in combination, all the combination you saw there, they need 4 years of English and now 4 years of math and on and on. Most of our students, if you took every class for every block of all 4 years, you could achieve 140 credits. And many of our students finish with 140 credits or 135 or 130. That means that they went through as many as 3 full years with taking no breaks. So most of us in this room probably had a study hall somewhere in their life where you got caught up on work, you got to sit and socialize with a friend, you got to delay doing that homework for the second half of your day because you knew you had a spot to do that, you managed your time. So we observe that with no restrictions, and we're not implementing any, but we're going to start to encourage you as parents to encourage your children to find places where a study hall might make sense, because it's good. It's good, it's healthy for them. I'm a father of 2 daughters. I have one who's a junior in high school and one who's a freshman in college. And boy, do they like their study halls when they show up in their schedules, just as we did when we were kids. But culturally in our building, and I think we've arrived at this place a long time ago and stayed there, is that I think students think they'll be at a competitive disadvantage if my neighbor is taking all 7 classes freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and just pinning the needle on all of that hard work to optimize their chance to get into college. I think there's something to that, but I would also say as a fellow parent, there's something to encouraging your kid to find a spot in their day to come up for air. So that's not something we put in writing, it's not something we have a policy about, but I'm telling you, just as you wouldn't want a day if you work in an office to be scheduled 7 meetings back to back, if you can imagine what that would be like, that's what most all of our kids have every day, because they are hard charging, they work really hard, they want to be competitive, they want to go to a good college. And what we understand from colleges is that a study hall doesn't prevent that, and in fact it might give you a bit of a space. So I would just encourage you, if you have a child, let's say, who's playing a fall sport, and you're thinking this jump to the high school might be a challenging one, maybe you locate a study hall in their schedule for the fall of their freshman year. They get a chance every day to have that rotate into their schedule, and they get to have all the enjoyment of a study hall that we all probably did too. But culturally in our school, it's just not been the norm, and in fact the alternative is the norm, is that for most freshmen, most sophomores, and most juniors, they take a full schedule all 7 periods, and we don't all think, I can't speak for every guidance counselor, but Lisa's nodding over there. I would encourage you to have that conversation with your child to say, having a study hall in one of the 2 semesters of your freshman year is a healthy thing. It doesn't mean you're not trying hard, it doesn't mean you're gonna get into a college that you're not crazy about. It means you're honest about the fact that getting a little bit of free time is a healthy thing. So we don't require it, but we're emphasizing it, and I would say if you reflect on your own high school experience, you probably would do that for yourself, and I would encourage you to do that with your child or for your child. So you might hear a guidance counselor talk a little bit about study halls more than might have happened if you had an older child, but it's something we're recognizing the mental health benefits of having a little bit of free time we're all aware of, but we're also aware that our students, given no restrictions and no encouragement, will just load up. And so I'd say we have wonderful electives, and some kids, and I'll stop talking now in a moment, but for some kids, taking course is a break in their day. It delivers probably more benefits than study hall because they get to do something they're really passionate about and good at. So you trust your own judgment as a parent, but study halls is something we never really talked about, and this year we really examined it, and we think there's a lot to be done, a lot of benefits for study halls that we have kind of ignored, honestly. We just haven't really emphasized. All right. So that's a ton of information. Like I said, it's like drinking from a fire hose tonight. I don't mean to overwhelm you. We're going to give you this information in many different formats and different ways, and we're super available. But I'll open it to a few questions for anybody who wants to ask them in front of the whole crowd. Don't be shy, and I don't know, anybody want to start? Yep.
Are there specific electives that are only allowed for certain grades?
That's a good question. So I'm going to repeat the question so that our members who are watching from home, the question was, are there certain electives that are only open for certain grades? So the answer to that is yes. There are some electives that are restricted to upper grades, but there are a wide variety of electives that are open beginning in 9th grade and open to all 4 grades. So it's not totally unusual. And I was a teacher here for about 10 years before I became a principal elsewhere and came back. And I taught journalism, and it was not unusual to have a 9th grade student sitting next to a 12th grade student. And they had very different experiences, different skills, but they'd actually really make it work really well. So on some of our slides, it was hard to catch some of them. You might have noticed there were about half of the, I don't know, some of the electives would be highlighted as open to 9th graders. There are some electives that you might need to take a certain baseline elective to get into the second version of elective, so by its very nature, that's not open to a 9th grader, for example. So the answer to that is yes, there are many electives open to 9th graders, but there are also some electives that are not open to 9th graders, if that makes sense. So that question was, if students participate in after-school sports, does that exempt them, or do they still need to participate in physical education? The answer to that is yes. So physical education is comprised of health and fitness. So they embed a lot of health concepts, not just the physical education portion. And so we do not have a program where a student who participates in a varsity sport, let's say, can decline or get out of taking PE. Well, you're welcome. So this member of the audience said, just was thankful that we're emphasizing study halls and the many benefits of just having downtime for our kids, and that we might want to consider it as a more formal requirement. Yeah, I think what we've seen is it can feel like a little bit of an arms race if the students around you are really taking multiple APs and you feel like, am I doing enough? We've all had an experience in life where you feel like I could be doing more, this person over here is doing more than I am, and I want to do as much as them. And if you can imagine the impact of 300 children experiencing that and thinking that, there's just this kind of groupthink that emerges. And so I encourage you to think differently about that, and it might be to say, freshman year, fall is going to be a big transition. I want to make sure my kid's ready for that. I'm going to give them a little bit of a break in that part. Or they play a spring sport, or they're going to do the spring theater production. Like, those are places in your schedule you might want to encourage. They still have a wide variety of things they're going to be doing. Their day is going to be packed with a lot of other stuff. We have a huge building and a lot of sensations. Like, they're undergoing a lot of change in a small period of time. So study halls are not some panacea for the hardest things in life, but they're not frowned upon, and in fact, we are trying to convince people study halls are A-okay. You know, so the question is, we all kind of understand that Melican and Trotter have a system that we kind of vertically are oriented around for recommendations. How do we do that for private schools? So Lisa, do you want to respond to that?
We ask that when the families come in to register, that they bring the current courses that they're taking, the grades they're taking, you know, and if they would like to go ahead and get some feedback from their teachers, they certainly can. But we'll primarily kind of look at the work they're currently doing, the grades they're earning, and then we'll help them to develop a course plan. And we'll do that for some of our families. I'll have the letter out at the table. So in March, we have a couple dates where families can come in and register, and we'll go through that process with you individually. And the middle school counselors will be doing that, you know, at Trotter and Melican with the students in groups and then individually. Okay?
Yeah. That's a good question. The question was, do the world languages courses that students take at the middle school count toward the 2-year requirement at the high school? They do not. But they allow us to place them where they'll start and then they'll achieve 2 years. And once they achieve 2 years in the same language, then they've completed that requirement. Okay, seeing no more hands and being mindful of people's time, so why don't we end there? This concludes our presentation for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined us at home. If you want to come on up and say hello or you ask a question to us, we welcome those interactions. Or out in the auditorium lobby, you have your department heads. They're there for your to answer questions that are department specific. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out.